Oh, now you did not expect to wake up this morning, tune into this broadcast, and not have major news breaking. Now, did you know this is the Trump administration? This is what we voted for. Some good and some bad. Some that will shock you a bit. Did you hear Patel is out? You're going to find out the basis of that story. White House announcing a shocking resignation. Maybe not as shocking as you may think. There's always more to the story, but it all boils down to this man. And a game of chess he's playing, and a checkmate move in some ways. Let's just call it check for right now. The market tanks, headlines abound. The market skyrockets to the biggest increase in its history, and there's only whispers. Oh, it will reverse back because they're rooting for failure, but they're not rooting for what Trump finally and Besant finally admitted has always been the focus. China. I've been preaching this for years, and it's so nice that yesterday everything came around, and that is one or two or three of many stories I'm going to bring you here in just 1 minute. Let's get right to the heart of the matter. How many of you freaked out that Kash Patel was out of the FBI? Well, a lot of people did, right? That's how the headlines read. No, Kash Patel was taken out of his position as ATF director. Now they're stating, and in the article posted by New York Post, they're stating it had nothing to do with his job performance. He was replaced by Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, to be more specific, and that gives you an indication. You see, in the Trump administration, with the mandate for change, elected by we the people, you see, your gun rights are kind of important. And what was the focus of the ATF? Was it doing its job? Well, if you read those who are against all these changes, the leadership vacuum at the agency tasked with investigating firearm, bomb, and arson-related crimes have worried current and former law enforcement officials. I always love that line. What did they state? To see them in the situation they're in now just is really heartbreaking. Well, the ATF is there to investigate violent gun-wielding criminals, but is that what they were doing? Because the headlines for the prior administration read something entirely different. And if the priorities of the ATF are not in alignment with the current administration, well, then you give it a lot less attention. Which leads us to that resignation here shortly. Because Trump has a real black and white way of working. If you disagree with my direction, I will ignore you and then eventually deal with you. So Kash Patel being out of the ATF is no major story. Did you really think he was going to hold the post for that long? The fact they're getting kicked around like a soccer ball is, to me, just incredibly disrespectful. Maybe disrespectful to you. But to me, Trump, the administration, is showing us the ultimate form of respect, because what was the ATF doing prior? And is that a priority right now? When you had rogue judges reversing everything you do, that's kind of a high priority. Rogue judges, not elected by we the people, going against a mandate for change given by we the people. Well, a small victory for Trump. I say small because it has to pass the Senate, I believe, at a 60-vote threshold. And with so many rhinos sitting in Senate, that could be an arduous task. But nonetheless, the Trump-backed bill to stop rogue judges is now passed the House. I will bring you more news on this as we advance forward into this story, and it hits the Senate floor. But not the only major story yesterday. Mechanical failure in the Keystone Pipeline. It shut down. Well, remember here, there's lots of horrible and incredible discoveries happening across the board. Carolyn Levitt, by the way, confirming the Doge has something, but she's going to let Trump announce it. So I look for the distractions. I look for the distraction campaigns. I look to the mainstream media only to see how they're trying to blow things out of the water that, well, they're important stories, but not mega stories. Oil spill in North Dakota prompts shutdown of Keystone Pipeline. It was contained nearly immediately. Pressure dropped, Signal went off saying we got a leak. They shut it down, 3,500 barrels of oil spill, but contained to the region you see on your screen. I'll go a little bit larger. Them saying now it won't be that big of a fix. We'll get it up and running again. So while your headlines are used to distract from the success of Trump and the major stock market increase yesterday, a record increase, all of a sudden these stories take on a whole new significance in the eyes of the mainstream media, but that is how they operate. White House shocking resignation, the headlines read. Melanie Krause has resigned. I know, that's the story, right? I'm sure you saw it. Who is Melanie Krause? Many of you will ask. The IRS commissioner who has now resigned because ICE came up with a deal with the IRS to find illegal or criminals, or illegal criminals. But either way, they're all doing something against the law and order of the Great Republic of the United States of America. I reported on this yesterday. Mega video. Thank you so much for supporting it. And while I'm there, before we proceed forward and get to the headline story today, I want to thank each and every one of you for doing your due diligence. And I know I ask on every broadcast, but you have to, because sometimes the algorithm works against us a bit. And some of you thought you were subscribed here suddenly are not subscribed. So for you checking every day that you're still subscribed and making sure your bell is checked to all, thank you. And for those of you that have joined as members here yesterday, thank you so very much. That means the world to me. The super thanks. That's always, it's amazing to see those pop across as you're watching the comments, seeing what you all think about these videos. That shows me you appreciate it. And those of you who went to our family at restrictedrepublic.com, the platform Lisa Haven and I created for you, to make sure you get the news uninterrupted. It's audience-funded news influenced by no one but Lisa and me. Thank you. Today's broadcast is going to kick on to a topic that I'll cover at the very end for you of this broadcast because it deserves more attention. But really, I'm only comfortable putting it on Restricted Republic for very good reason. So those of you who joined, thank you. For those of you who haven't yet, I'm asking a favor. Go over there, check it out. There's monthly or annual subscriptions, and you'll see why so many are moving over to what real news was meant to sound like, restrictedrepublic.com. But now let's get on with this broadcast. So much breaking news, huh? Elon Musk making, according to some publications, a horrific announcement. The announcement was that he found computers that are generating checks, pretty much uncontrolled and unabated. A major announcement, 14 magic money computers to create cash just out of thin air. Amazing, isn't it? Wonder what else is going on behind the scenes. You see some of these reports leak out, and then there's some information that shouldn't leak out. And Trump hasn't forgotten his first term. And so he's going after those that may have disrupted his first term. I'm sure you saw this announcement or heard about it, a fact sheet. President Donald J. Trump addresses risks associated with Miles Taylor. Who's Miles Taylor? Well, Trump tells you who Miles Taylor is.
And it's time to find out whether or not somebody can do that. Can they write a book about very confidential meetings? And, you know, because they happen to be one of a lot of people in a room, and they go out and write a book, and worse than that, call it anonymous, like it's a big deal. But we're going to find out whether or not somebody's allowed to do that. I think it's a very important case, and I think he's guilty of treason.
Ouch. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that warning now, would I? Or on the top of a fact sheet, would I? No, you shouldn't want to be. But Trump is going to continue to reinforce his administration. He has learned the lessons of the past. He made many mistakes in his first term, and he doesn't appear to be making many of those now. But that wasn't the only ominous warning Trump provided. No, another one he gave, and I don't know if you caught this or not, right on the heels of his Iranian discussions that are coming up. He announces this.
They don't have to worry about environmental heat. They have to worry about nuclear heat. And if we're smart, we're working on that right now.
Working on what right now? That's right. You are going to have indirect talks. Iran wouldn't talk to you directly. They were going to have indirect direct talks. Well, no, what they have to worry about is the nuclear heat. They don't have to worry about environmental heat. What did he mean by that? You see, he has a funny way of giving very veiled threats, but they seem to have results. Remember, I said mate, not checkmate, because mate would be when Iran takes those indirect talks, and it is now announced that they will be direct talks. Yeah, sometimes have to be a bully to get a response. And no greater example. Imagine you have to negotiate with Iran, Russia, and China. How easy do you think that is? Not at all. He raised the defense budget like I covered on yesterday's video. If you didn't see it, I'll put a link above. I want you to go see it because it all boils down to this story, this tariff story. Liberation Day, they called it. Stock market crashes. Mainstream media goes crazy. How is he doing this to our retirements? How is he destroying us? And what did I tell you? Give it a few days. And suddenly we have a record. Stock ends with record one-day point gain after Trump pauses the tariffs. Mainstream media came out. He doesn't know what he's doing. He can't make up his mind. Oh, he made up his mind. It was always focused on one person. If you just listen to what they said, it's always been focused on one person, but yet everyone continues to not follow the bouncing ball. But that's what we do here, isn't it? Listen to Scott Pacino. I'll remind you of this again. Everything they're doing, they've already told you they're going to do.
And we saw the successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago today. It has brought more than 75 countries forward to negotiate. It took great courage for him to stay the course until this moment. And what we have ended up with here, as I told everyone a week ago, they're in this very spot, do not retaliate and you will be rewarded. So every country in the world who wants to come and negotiate, we are willing to hear you. We're going to go down to a 10% baseline tariff.
And there you have it. The successful negotiating strategy that President Trump implemented a week ago. We told you, if you don't retaliate, you'll be rewarded with a 90-day pause, because that's how long it's going to take them to come up with all these deals. Well, one person didn't come to the table, right? Because all Trump was trying to illustrate to the world is to get the cancer to show itself. And China showed itself. They don't care about anyone. They don't care about, especially the United States of America. And for Trump to destroy BRICS, that set of nations trying to create a nice currency domination against us, you have to take out the ringleader. And the ringleader is China. And China showed its head. Now the world's scratching its head. Well, okay, they probably don't want to accept a bully's demands. But to not negotiate at all? Well, rumor is now swirling that that isn't the case either. It appears, behind the scenes, China is going to come to the table. Trump takes a parting shot, though, doesn't he? They were getting yippy, a little bit afraid, thought the people were jumping a little bit out of line, so that's why I pulled him back. No, that was a shot across the bow, wasn't it? To all those that are not falling in line with what the administration is doing because they're scared. How dare you threaten China and Iran? That's scary. Because then they might be mad at us. And if we don't have them, man, we're in a lot of trouble. No, we have them providing drugs, pharmaceuticals, and materials. That's the scary part. Why is so much of our pharmaceutical supply bound to China, our number one enemy? Those that are importing deadly drugs and making it through the Mexican border, which Trump is shutting down. The Canadian border, which Trump is shutting down. Trying to control our trade through Panama Canal, which Trump is shutting down. Trying to get all the rare earth minerals they can in Greenland, which Trump is shutting down. Now it all starts to make sense, and I will continue to bring you the developing stories that support the case that I have brought to you for years, based on the lack of respect, Trump stated. That China has shown the world's markets, I hereby raising the tariff charges to China by the United States of America to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the U.S. and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. He's continual drumbeat. It hasn't changed, but do you think China's done with us? Not so fast. Because China knows what weakened our economy more than anything else, what almost destroyed our economy. They watched as Americans complied in mass number. They watched how they can terrify Americans. You see, they learned through events of the past. Because nothing did a far more effective job than COVID, huh? And so, I don't believe in coincidence. I watched the drumbeats of how the globalists work. They're smart. They know all the mechanisms. Suddenly a story comes out. Leaked China CDC document confirms new H5N1 strain more contagious in humans. Coincidental timing that this story would suddenly be promoted? Well, the details of it tell a much different story. Because all the stories you're being told don't align in this one. And normally when things don't align, there's truth that's trying to be mired beneath it. And that is what I'm going to dig much deeper into this afternoon on Restricted Republic as I continue to extend this broadcast. I hope you'll join us there. But again, as I promised and committed to you here, very complex terms and very black and white words. And all the major stories that make a difference in the future of this great republic of the United States of America, I will bring to you every opportunity I have. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. If you did, make sure you put it in the comments below. Make sure you like this video because I certainly appreciate all you've done for me. And this channel, because of you, continues to explode. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.